Hi, welcome to Chad Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I really appreciate you coming to visit. Um, it helps my channel to get promoted if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment or hitting the like button before you leave. Thanks in advance for that. Today, I'm going to do some saw work, some piercing, and this is kind of new to me because I've been doing this for, getting close to 30 years now, and I never was much of a person who did sawing in the past, but since I got a better saw and had some encouragement from my patrons, I started trying to do it more. So I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit now. So I'm going to do something that's sort of abstract. I was using a pattern. I'll show you the pattern in a minute, but it's one that my friend Paula sent me. She cut out with a laser cutter, and it's abstract, and I was going to do 2 layers on it, and when I was thinking about it, it kind of looks like Jackson Pollock kind of art. And so definitely I like the idea because I've always liked Jackson Pollock a little bit. In fact, we have one in our bathroom, not an actual one, we can't afford that, sorry, but a print we've had in our bathroom for years, and I really like it. But so I'm going to do something with this, and 2 layers and 2 different metals. I'm going to include silver as 1 layer and copper, and then a background of silver that I think I'm going to try and oxidize so everything stands out against it pretty well. We'll see how this goes. This is something I haven't tried anything quite like this before. Before we get started though, thank you to my YouTube subscribers. We passed 6,300 subscribers recently. That's wonderful. Thank you guys for all your support and your contributions, and just the general good nature of most of the comments. So thank you for that. I also wanted to thank my Patreon people. I have a new one, Kathleen J. Thank you so much for signing up. I really appreciate your support. We've developed a nice community over there. There's a lot of knowledge. I learn things from them. I hope they get as much out of it as I do. But thank you guys for all of your support over there. You guys are paying for my premium content. So with all that being said, let's get started on this project. Okay, let's see kind of what I drew up here. This is my design idea, one of the 3 models of my design idea books that you can get on my merch store. I really like them because since I started sketching things out, I started ending up with better results. And these have nice little matrix in them that helps me to keep things kind of in scale and stuff. This was where I was first coming up. I was going to do a tree kind of with the overlapping pieces of metal, one behind the other with some space between them. Sort of a sandwichy kind of situation. And then I started going more, once I thought of those patterns that Paula sent me, there were so many cool ones, and this one kind of was so abstract and fun, decided to go that route. To save a little time, I did a few things in advance. One of the things I did is I cut out 2 pieces of sterling silver, about this size, and I colored one purple. I also have a piece of copper that's, this is either 18 or 16. It's pretty thick, so I think it might be 16, but it's close enough. I'm going to use this as the middle sandwich layer on this one, so there'll be a top one, which is going to be this one where I'm going to cut out the design. After I do that, I'm going to lay out, this is the laser cut piece that my friend gave me, and I was using that as kind of a gauge, so I'm going to decide which way I like the ones crossing behind it to give it kind of a dual layered look like that. But I want to see how this looks with the parts cut out of it first, and then we'll do something with the copper there, and then we'll solder them all together with this in the background. So if you look here, I'm going to attach, I'll probably drill a hole there so I can run a jump ring through it on a split chain. I'm thinking this is going to be a relatively heavy pendant, but I think it'll be kind of cool. So we'll see. Oh, and for a border on the front to give it kind of a recessed look, I went ahead, I flattened some 12 gauge square wire and then I rolled it through the rolling mill with Patron. And so I cut myself some border pieces, which will mount on the top of that sheet to create a nice little frame for it. I used my miter vise jig to make these 45-degree angles on the corners. It's a handy tool if you don't have one. They look like this. Oops. Alright, so these will go kind of like this. So that that top piece looks a little recessed, you know? Like a painting, sort of, I guess. Maybe we should call this a Jackson Pollock painting pendant. That's an awful lot of alliteration. A Pollock painting pendant? I don't know about that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I think what I did for this one is I used these guys to draw the border, and then I just kind of used a pin to mark out the pattern. So I should probably, so I don't accidentally saw anything out that I don't want, put an X on each piece that needs to go away. That way I won't accidentally saw out the wrong piece here. I've done that a few times. That's kind of on the par of the mistake of using an abstract shaped stone, making a bezel for it, and then soldering it onto the base upside down, so you can't you can't use it. You have to start fresh. I do that one once in a while still. Like, you think you'd learn. Okay, so my first step is I'm going to drill a little hole in each one of those spots. I have to use a little tiny drill bit for some of these. So let's go do that. Okay, so I got holes all the way through. That's a lot more holes than I realized. So I got to cut out a lot of little tiny sections. So I'll probably show you part of this, but not all of it, because it's going to take a while. So I'll do some. All right, but we need to put a smallish blade in here, so I'm going to use a 00. Let's see, I always get these backwards. It's because my eyes aren't very good anymore. I can't see the teeth very much. All right, so we're going to run this through one of these guys. Nice and tight. Put a little wax on the blade and see if my sawing is getting any better. Okay, give it a shot. Okay, now we move to the next one. This is like scroll sawing wood. You have to make lots of little changing of the, feeding the blade through little holes that you drilled, and then sawing a little bit, and then refeeding it through a different hole and sawing a little bit. Okay, I'll be back when I finish this piece here. Did some cutting and I did a little bit of cleanup filing. I'll probably do some more before we assemble this whole thing. And then I did some experimenting as far as which way I wanted to arrange this. And I think about like that. So I'm thinking we kind of move that. I think this is oxidized enough to where I don't need to put marker on it, so it'll still be easy to see. Okay, now I got to spend a little time darkening those. And actually, let's put same border on this. Actually, let's make sure this is actually a little bit smaller. I want them to be the same size. I'm just putting that line where the outside border is going to be. That provides one side for my cutouts. So I'm just going to go do the same thing I did before on this one. You probably don't have to watch me do that same thing again. Interestingly, this is the same pattern, just situated differently. Like, where is it? Right here. Similar. I probably didn't scribe it out perfectly, but either way, do it like this, it should be kind of cool. So we'll see. I'm going to go drill some holes and cut this out, and then I'll be back. So I got the second one cut out, and I think it'll look cool once we lay them over top of each other like that. A couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to do some more cleaning up of these saw jobs with my file here, because my filing is better than my sawing. So I'm just going to be neatening up these. Mostly I use the half-round jeweler's file That's got mostly all of the surfaces I need to smooth these out. Did some polishing in order to get these a little bit shined up. Now I need to create the little spacers that lift them apart from each other. I'm going to make those out of 14 gauge square wire. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, move in about 1/4 of an inch, or 6-7 millimeters. And I'm cutting a diagonal notch with the corner of my bastard file. Then I'm just going to bend it. That allows me to bend it in a nice 90-degree angle like that. I pre-did a few of them over here, but I haven't soldered them yet. So next step will be to go ahead and cut these all off like that. And then I'll solder that corner point on them. And then I'm going to cut them down to the exact same length on each. And we'll use those as corners for these, but they'll be a little bit smaller than those. So probably we'll put something in the middle here to prevent it from sagging in the middle on each of the layers, but let's go ahead and make these things now. So if you haven't seen one of my videos before, I don't think I've done any soldering so far tonight, just a lot of sawing and filing. I use hard silver sheet solder and a spray-on flux called My-T-Flux, and I do a lot of pick soldering. If you're interested in pick soldering, I have a video about that right up there. I find it to be useful and increases my efficiency as far as time and effort in soldering things. I'm going to cool those off and trim them all down. And let's place these on the corners. There you are. Okay. Actually want them protruding just a tiny bit. These may move a little bit when I flux them, so I'll have to reposition them again, but that's okay. So there's already solder on there, so I probably won't even need to add any. I may need to push them a little with my pick. Trying to avoid spraying him off in there. Unsuccessful. Okay, let's see if we can get these guys to sit down a little bit. Solder down. So most of the mass is in this big piece of 18 gauge sheet, so I'm going to pump most of the heat in there. I'm watching for the solder to form a seam inside of the, or in between the square wire and the sheet. So I'm going to flux the back corners of these, this copper sheet that we did. And in order to prop it up in the middle so it doesn't sag, I'm going to use a little trick that somebody told me a while back. You can use graphite. This is just a piece of pencil lead that I broke out of a pencil. And I think I can use that to kind of support the middle. We have to file it a little bit thinner. Okay, that's probably thin enough. Let's get that fluxed. I may pick a little extra solder on the tops of these little square corner thingy bobs. Official silversmithing lingo. Okay, let's pick a little bit on here. Alright, let's give that a shot. Sometimes you just gotta let things be. That one's being a pain. It's close enough. Okay. So, let's cool that off. One thing that I need to do is put my little border on the front of this. Where would I put those guys? That's these things here. So, probably, let's do it this way. solder this guy into rectangle. I'm going to pick a little bit of solder on the side of each of these so I can just lay it on top of that one. So the reason I'm putting some solder on the bottom of this piece is because I could lean some against it when I set it on top of that other piece of sheet. However, that would probably cause a lot of puddling around it, which I'd rather not have. I have to clean up with a rotary tool or some other way. See how square I was. Not too bad, I don't think. Okay. Now, why don't we add these onto the back of this one, and then we can start stacking things some more. Alright, let's see if we can't get this to sit on top of this one now. The other thing I'm trying to do is make sure that that bottom gets hot enough where I get a good solder joint on it. It's kind of protected from the heat by being underneath all this other stuff. Let's let that cool for a second. Not too much sag on the copper, I'm surprised. It's good. Okay, so I think I need to spend some time getting this like filed up neatly. And then I will, I think I'm going to add a jump ring kind of facing that way on either of these, and then we'll just split a chain and hook it onto those. Okay, so I kind of filed this at a taper backwards. So it's kind of like a casserole pan, maybe? I don't know. But I think what I'm going to do now, I made a couple of semicircles here, and I'm going to put a little bit of solder on the tips of each of those and hook them onto the corners there. Hopefully, and then we'll pickle it, and then I'm going to take a little break. Alright, well, I apologize for my polishing here. So I think this went pretty well in general. It was quite a bit of work. So I don't think I would call this a beginner project. This would be something more advanced, I think. The only thing that I don't like so far is I actually oxidized that back layer by setting this in a little puddle of black Max. And then I cleaned it off again, and it didn't really take very well on the inside, even though it looked like it was doing it. So I think there was some polishing compound in there. I may have to sand it a little bit more on the inside using some, I don't know, some 1800 grit sandpaper or something like that, and then try and re-oxidize it. But in spite of that, I really like how this came out. I think it looks pretty cool. The copper shows up pretty nicely back there, and I'll just put a split chain hooked onto either side here, and we'll call it good. So I'll try and get some better pictures and put them at the end. Well, that was the two-layer multi-metal piercing project, and sort of inspired by Jackson Pollock-ish sort of art. And I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. That helps out my channel a lot. I'd love to hear your thoughts about things. Do you like to saw? Do you hate to saw? I used to hate it, but now I don't hate it so much. So usually when something is like that for me, it's when I finally get good enough to where I don't feel like I'm a kindergartner doing it. So most things like that just take a little practice. But before you leave, check out some of my other videos. I have 230-ish now. Lots of stuff for intermediate, beginning, advanced, and they're split up into categories too, like pendants and rings. So check out my playlist. That's a good way to view my channel. And subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you subscribe. If you're interested, in the video description down below, there's information about my other links, like my Patreon page. There's a link to buy me a coffee if you just want to support me in that manner. My website where you can see some of my jewelry for sale, or my merch store where you can get one of these nice design idea books that I showed you. Either way, thanks for coming to my channel. Take care. Happy silversmithing.